This is not a test. Now is the time to panic.
All to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
First up, mainstream media begins its early rehearsals for its new era of I'm just beside myself and I can't even. Next, with Bobby Kennedy being selected for HHS, we speak to the local health clinics looking to offer fluoride supplements to those concerned about feeling less gay. Next, details on how much actors were paid to support Kamala Harris, and why some are saying that showing enthusiasm for Kamala was the most challenging role of their careers. And lastly, we speak to the Oval Office yellers about their career plans now that the new administration won't need constant hollers to keep the president awake.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
To them unless you think it's true. Follow your heart and your dreams. Follow your heart and your dreams.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. We are back in front of Mar-a-Lago, the new home of the Run Your Mouth podcast. I worked it out a deal with Donald Trump. He's letting us broadcast from in front and make sure that nobody's posting up against the fence and trying to shoot him. We got a whole bunch of nonsense to get into, and then we've got some big-time news, including what seems to be the end of the Ukraine war. Donald Trump seemed to have gotten it done even before he even got into office. But before we do that, first is, my desktop was an entire mess because I'm disorganized. You keep dumping things on the desktop, and then I was reluctant to delete anything off the desktop because this is going to be some nerd talk. You guys aren't familiar with Premiere Pro, but sometimes if things are saved, it pulls from a certain source, and if it's not in that particular place, then you can never find it again, and that intro template was a real pain in the ass. Anyways, I deleted the intro template, so now we're going with the emergency broadcast messages. I think I'll probably change up the background too, and I don't love that one, but I'm losing my mind. Did I already do those first two jokes in this intro in a different episode? If you are of such a high caliber of run your mouth autism that you can log in your own brain whether or not I repeated a joke that I'm not even sure if I've done, which is funny. It's funny to sit down and think you wrote a joke and then also be like, did I already do that one? I just got a new car, which was quite the hassle. And it was a funny experience because, the system will wear you down. You show up to the first dealership and you get some lady and she just wants to waste as much of your time as possible because she assumes if she wastes as much of your time as possible, then you're going to be pot committed, and it doesn't matter what the car costs. It doesn't matter what changes they make. The further they drag you down the line of having invested your time, the more likely you're going to be like, just fuck it. I'll take all the warranties. No, I guess the financing didn't go through. I'll come up with the cash out of pocket. Yeah, sure, I'll work here on the weekends to work off the debt of the thing that I couldn't actually play. And sure, yeah, no, I didn't even need a car with tires. Honestly, if you can just give me the rims and I'll figure it out from there. I mean, after we spent 7 weeks here, it's like an interrogation where, they keep changing the temperatures on you. They're offering you too much water. They're taking away the water. And anyways, I passed on the Subaru. I've been a long-time Subaru person, but after my most recent Subaru died on me after 140,000 miles, I wanted more out of that thing. And for all you people out there going, why don't you just fix the car? Oh, you don't even know anything about cars. Just get in the comment section going, oh, you don't know anything. I know everything about cars, and cars are supposed to last for 200,000 miles. Well, you don't know the way Subarus operate because they put out a whole run of bad Subarus where the engine gaskets are not even worth repairing. And don't tell me, oh, it's because you didn't do my oil change. I did all my oil changes, okay? I did the top engine repairs. I did all the things you were supposed to do. And does your mechanic tell you when you bring it in at 100,000 miles of, hey, by the way, these things don't last past 140? Of course not. They do all of the repairs. And then at 140, when the gasket starts to go, he goes, oh, yeah, that happens with these. You know, it's probably not even worth repair. Anyways, you know, this is why I don't read the comment section. You just go about your life and you're having a nice day. And then these little fuckers with the things that they put in the comment section just rings on you don't even know. You're just having shower conversations like a homeless person while you walk around about random idiots on the internet and the things that there was no reason for you to even read, and they probably didn't even mean it when they said it. Although sometimes the information in the comment section is helpful. I'd still be walking around with the patchy head if it wasn't for those mean comments telling me about how cancerous I was looking. Anyways, I ended up, I bought myself a Mazda. And that took 2 days at the dealership. I had an epic argument with the individual there about the privacy agreement. And that was funny because after having a whole fight with him on the privacy agreement, I just downloaded the app so that I could start the car remotely, which is not that exciting. But there's an app so I can start the car remotely, and so that if the car breaks down, I have the equivalent of free AAA service that they will bring it to the closest dealership. And for all of that, I just signed away all of my data. They will understand the fact I'm a reckless driver. My insurance rates are going to go up. Chances are the bank won't even loan me money for the next time I want to buy a car. But anyways, I go through days of dealership transactions. You get the car. And this was funny. This is the single biggest expense of my entire life. And twice, I wasn't even being that nitpicky. I got to be honest. I'm somewhat easygoing. Twice, I opened up the car door and the car's just dirty. And I'm like, can you just pretend like this is a new car? Can we just pretend like this is new? Can you bring this? I was like, hey man, the seat's kind of filthy. Do you mind bringing it back to the detail shop? And twice, they brought me my brand new car. I didn't buy a used car. If I buy a used car, it's like flying Spirit Airlines. You can't complain if they don't fly anywhere. You chose to drive in the discount airline. You buy a used car, it's got a couple scratches in it. You bought a used car. But you buy a brand new car, it's supposed to have that new car smell. It's supposed to have little stickers that you got to peel off like you're opening up a new present. It's supposed to have the bells and whistles. It's not supposed to look like some guy in the dealership decided to store things on the roof of the car, and so he was just standing on your seat for no reason. It's like somebody took the seat out of the car and decided to use it as a step stool for little jobs in their house instead of some reason that was easier than just getting a step stool. Was taking the seat out of your car, carrying it over to what they needed to step on, and I could see this owner after I gave him a hard time about this user agreement and collecting my data only for me to sign off on the app like a jackass anyways, just standing on the thing to spite me in old Timberlands that doesn't even make sense because he's wealthy enough that he could afford nicer boots. Anyways, I spend 2 days in dealerships, finally negotiate. I get myself a car. I go through the whole warranty conversation, busting the guy's balls on every line. I'm in that office for 2 hours. We go through everything. I negotiate all of savings for $50. Wasn't worth the time of sitting there and going there in the back in the forts. You finally get outside. The kid hands you the keys, goes, let me go get the plates, goes over and comes back and he goes, sorry, I can't give you these car keys. You owe money to the government. What money do I owe the government? I pay my taxes. Well, when you pay your taxes, that doesn't include the letter that they don't send to you for the $100 that you owe on your old car. I owed, I think it was $96 in taxes on my broken Subaru Legacy that then after interest and whatever turned into $200. And then I have to show up to an office in person just for them to process the payment. And now I thought this was funny. I thought that this was funny that you interact with the government in person and it's like a drug deal where of course they're in the government building. They got all the security in the world, but they're behind booths because I guess people must freak out on them. The only time you see bulletproofing like that is if you decide to go to a KFC in the hood. They don't even have booths like this in the bank. Even at the DMV, they don't have people in booths like this where people are freaking out. But you go to the government building and they've got these women behind bulletproof casing as if you went to a Kentucky Fried Chicken in the hood. And not only that, but they won't take anything but cash. It is cash or nothing. So, make my cash payment. And then you got to wait 2 more days for your car now. You know, you pay your taxes on your brand new car. You pay your annual taxes. You pay taxes when you earn the money. Then you pay the taxes when you purchase something. And then you pay the additional taxes on owning something. And then this was fun because I actually went to the government office and I paid it. And I said, just for my own education, in the future, how am I supposed to make this payment? When am I made aware of it? What is the process? And they go, we send you a letter every July, and then you can go online and you can pay. And I go, wow, that sounds a lot more convenient than finding out 2 years later when you're trying to purchase something, having to show up here with cash in person. That sounds like the better thing to do. Now, would you mind telling me where I get this letter? Because I don't think I've ever seen this letter before. We can't do that in this office. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I finally take care of that. I gave them a hard time about not handing me a clean car, and I see you in the comments calling me a full Karen for buying a new car and not wanting to look like your seats were stepped on. Ruber turd, I invite you on this show. The new show is called Rob Fights the Idiots in the Comment Section. Ruber turd, you come on the show and tell me how I was being a Karen for wanting new seats that look nice in the car that you're spending a lot of money on. All right, for me, money's relative. Anyways, so now, 3 days into my adventure, I sometimes I can't tell if everything takes forever or if I'm just retarded, and I think it's partially that I'm retarded, or finicky. It's the ADD thing that you don't want to deal with anything, you don't care about anything, but once you start caring about something, I used to have this when I went to the supermarket, and I would tire myself inspecting the apple, trying to find the perfect apple, and then you realize, I'm never going to eat this apple anyways, it's just going to sit in the drawer till it rots. Why am I inspecting this thing like it's high-end jewelry, and I'm about to buy a diamond, and I got to make sure that there's not a single scratch on the thing. So anyways, after my 5-day process of picking up the car, the guy hands me the keys, and I walk over and I look at the door, and I'm like, dude, there's a scratch in this. Sales guy's like, no, that's not a scratch. Goes inside, tries to pretend like he's one of these people on the streets in New York City that can fix a car, comes out with some random, he goes, yeah, that's a scratch. I'm like, this wasn't here yesterday. He goes, that must have happened in the garage. So anyways, I have the car, but I'll have to bring it back at some point for them to actually remove the scratch. And that was my experience. 36 years old, only driven hand-me-down cars my entire life that then you put the repair work in of what it would have just cost to have a car. And then they tried to hand it to me with dirty seats and then a scratch. And I had to fight the government. All right. Anyways, we got other random topics to get into. I will say this about, I don't think money makes you happy, but it can help you be a little bit less miserable. Because also on the day after I bought this, car, I saw the announcement that now they're going back with the congestion pricing in New York City, which I've already screamed and hollered about. It's the unfair thing about the government. You think, oh, wow, I bought a home. And then all of a sudden they change the property taxes and you can't afford your home. And then you start evaluating your life and you're like, oh, yeah, I can move here and I can afford to drive here and I could pay this toll. And they're like, nope, here's another fee. And let me tell you, if I had kids to feed, I would be returning the car right now. Anyways, we are going to get into the news, but we've got more random horse shit that we have to talk about. Quick commentary on the Infowars sale, because there's something about that whole shenanigans that I don't understand. And listen, we already got into it. Summary judgments or whatever the hell that is doesn't seem to make sense to me, that he didn't actually get to plea his court in case. He didn't actually get to be in front of a jury of his peers. Even if it's true that there were shenanigans going on behind the scenes and his lawyers weren't being honest, and so the judge made a judgment, that still just seems like an unfair system that at some point in time, I think you should actually be able, like, that seems like a recipe for corruption if a judge can just make decisions without the information ever being presented to a jury. Maybe it doesn't happen in criminal stuff. You know, I'm like Charlie Day over here. I don't actually know how the law works. And so then, you know, it was very clear, though, that it was for censorship. The lawyers even said that we're going to make sure that he can't do this to anybody again. And so they put up Infowars for auction. And I guess it's part of the bankruptcy proceedings that he owes $1 billion. He's going to be that. This is just the part that I don't understand. And I invite you guys on robsnewsroom@gmail.com. If you can explain this to me, you can shoot me an email. If you're Alex Jones, isn't the product just you and the supplements that you sell? Do you really care about I'm just saying, it's like, isn't it more important to you just your future income stream? If somebody wants to take the Infowars name, and then that's now a defunct company, but you can just relaunch as Alex Jones Uncensored, or whatever the hell you want to whatever you want to call it, and now your earnings are actually yours, isn't that just a win? I don't understand the whole hoola about actually owning Infowars. Like, I understand, like, it would be annoying to me if you seized this studio. I got a lot of equipment in the studio. I've built the studio. It'd be a pain in the ass to put together a new studio. But at the end of the day, if I can continue to do this and just get on somewhere else and just continue to talk, and then you get the support of the Yoke Kratums, you get the support of the Sheaths. That's why I don't have to, by the way, the most fucked up I've ever been in my entire life was when we did the Philadelphia porch tour, and someone told me that they had the Energy B shots from Alex Jones, and my God, was that the most jittery. I was like, I understand why he talks this way, why he yells this way, why he has crazy thoughts, and why he thinks that I understood Alex Jones in that moment. They might as well have called it Alex JonesJuice, because I turned into Alex Jones for that show. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is I don't understand why everyone cares that much about the actual Infowars asset. If the guy's able to, let's say he's able to wipe the slate clean and they wipe him out, but he can get on the air tomorrow and he can continue to be Alex Jones, at least he's not broke. He's got a platform for earning a living. And if you didn't strip him from being on the internet, and even if he can just broadcast on Twitter or wherever else he goes, at least he can continue living a normal life. Like, yes, it sucks. What happened to him was terrible. But I don't understand the actual preservation of Infowars attachment personally. And particularly, if you can just wipe the slate clean and go, fine, the Onion knows Infowars now, and you guys have my old studio space, but we're back in action. Like, that sucks. What they did to him, they did him dirty. But then at the end of the day, it's not like the judgment was, hey, you're not allowed to work anymore, or you're a slave, and every time that you do work, you owe us money. Do you guys watch that Tyson fight last night? Oh my God, they did us dirt. We're all a bunch of suckers. We are all a bunch of suckers. All of us are living in the past, trying to have that old glory. You know, and God bless Jake Paul for really profiting the biggest on the Andy Kaufman scheme of, listen, I can't wrestle people, but I can fight women, and then just being a total dickhead about it, so everyone wants to see you lose to women. And here you go, and he just keeps picking fights with people that have no business being in boxing matches, and then we all just want to see Jake Paul lose, and so we'll tune in. I didn't watch any of the other Jake Paul fights. I didn't watch the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, or whichever other exhibition matches he was doing, but last night, you know, I wrapped up putting this one together. I went over to the bar, and I was like, I was going to watch that, and the second you see Tyson walking out with his leg wrapped up, it just seemed to me like he didn't have any hop in his step, and what was the point of the whole thing? But we're all there. We all tuned in. We were all excited, and it's because we're all a bunch of suckers. We're all living in the past. We're all trying to pretend like this country still has all of its glory, that things of yesteryear still exist. I don't know. To me, it just showcased we're all a bunch, like at our core, we're all a bunch of optimists who want to think that we're the best and the coolest and the greatest. And then you actually tune in for reality, and you see an old man who has no spring in his step and a younger individual who I guess will just be nice enough not to knock the old man out. And then the fact that 75,000 people paid for tickets for that, and that so many people tuned in that it was actually shutting down Netflix and it couldn't stream properly. We're all a bunch of suckers. Every single one of us. Episode is brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo, and the only place on the entire internet where you can get an entire kilo of kratom for just $60. Loyal sponsors of the Run Your Mouth podcast. And on that note, we are tooling up, everybody. I gotta get my buddy Andrew on the phone. We are going to be doing the call-in leftover show soon enough. Not touring as much, so you guys can expect, I think, 2 Run Your Mouths during the week, and then a third at some point over the weekend, which will be the leftover call-in show for supporting members, and be on the lookout for that. But on the same note, it's nice being home. It's nice. We're going to be doing some studio improvements. We're going to be firing our producer and getting a new person in here that actually knows how to run the videos, cut some highlights, make the news intro a little bit better. We're gonna revamp, we're gonna retool, but I already want to get back on the road. So if you got warm weather locations, people, places that I haven't toured, places that might make sense, you got bars out in Florida. I'd like to do more in Florida. It seems like a good market. I only did 2 shows in Florida all of last year. So hit me up, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I'm already ready to get back out there. And next year is going to be probably the longest porch tour season that we've ever done, and that I want to start it as early as March and run all the way till about November. So we're going to be starting to put stuff together. Front of the line is anything that's local to here, and particularly any locations that I haven't yet done. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Hit me up. All right, now let's talk about Matt Gaetz, because that is a fun curveball. Matt Gaetz is a bulldog. My God, will that guy go after people? he has I would just say he has a tenacity to him of that he's willing to bring up things that need to be brought up that other people will just kind of be like, we shouldn't be talking about that. We shouldn't be touching that. And so I've seen him go after the Ray Epps stuff. I've seen him go after the FBI. I've seen him go after, there's a lot of topics that Matt Gaetz has been unbelievably good on. And to actually see him in the Attorney General role, I think would be fantastic. I think Donald Trump is going into round 2 with a better idea of how to wield power and understanding that he needs loyalists around him. Because the last time he got suckered by the machine. The machine was yelling so loud, Donald Trump's this outsider and he's going to ruin the entire government. And so I think to some extent he sat around and he thought, what institutional players can I bring in that the news organizations will calm down? Oh, will Bill Barr calm you down? Will this guy calm you down? And so what he did was he hired a lot of traditional Washington, D.C. deep state kooks because he understood that the machine is yelling so loudly at him that perhaps if I put these people in, you guys will calm down and then we can get to work. And you know what happened? They didn't let him get to work. They undermined him every step of the way, and he learned, this is the game that we're playing. The game that we're playing is that you guys are going to scream and be crybabies no matter what I do. So really, what I should be doing is just forcing my will down your people's throats. You guys didn't play nice. Didn't matter who I hired. You screamed and yelled and you undermined me. So now we're going to put the loyalists in. Matt Gaetz is an interesting one. And we did an excellent part of the problem behind the paywall. You guys can go over to, I think it's partoftheproblem.com to check that one out. But Dave Smith made an excellent point. He does that a lot. And it was something that I hadn't taken into consideration, where all these Trump loyalists, including Kristi Noem, including Matt Gaetz, I think the positive side is that they've been willing to go after the government for issues that we care about. Border stuff, COVID stuff, deep state trying to kill Donald Trump type stuff, even though Matt Gaetz was on the, hey, Iran's trying to kill us. But there is one risk on the table, which is just as bad as everything that happened with the COVID stuff, and that's new labels of anti-Semitism, which include criticizing Israel. And that would be a interesting and horrible turn for the worse if individuals like Matt Gaetz are in there to get Donald Trump's back and start going after, let's say, I don't think they're going to go after the Biden crime family, and I actually think it would be better to move on from that. But I do think all the institutional players that covered up for the Biden family or that undermined Donald Trump in the last time, I do think all that stuff would be a good idea and that Matt Gaetz could be a great asset for it. But I also think that some of these strong men who have a absolute loyalty to Israel no matter what, if they start going the, hey, you can't criticize anything that's going on over there, you're an anti-Semite route, and then they possibly try and do what the Democrats did with the January 6th and, hey, you're a domestic terrorist, and that's why we can't have this misinformation online. I hadn't even really considered that risk was out there, but I can see it. And I don't know that we'll get there, but just in terms of laying out the pros and cons of these individuals, that risk does exist. And credit to Dave Smith, he brought that one up on the subscriber episode. And of course, you can listen to it in his words because it had more clarity and probably made sense. All right, one more random topic, and then I will take some comments. And then we can get into other news stories because we got big bombshells, including that it looks like we're going to be done with this Ukraine war, which is nice. Did you guys watch the alien hearing? I don't know why. I don't get too excited for the alien talk. I just, for the amount of congressional hearings I've watched on random topics, sometimes when just everyone shows up and goes, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this for the American people, and you're going to answer our questions because you're beholden to us, and I'm going to be the person who looks the toughest as I ask these questions and we figure out, and then it's like, dude, you're a random congressperson. What does it help me if you know about the truth about the aliens or this guy knows about the truth about the aliens? It's like, unless you're going to make the argument that it's kind of like data collection and other stuff, that government's hoarding the alien technology and really should be available to all of us. There's nice aliens out there and they could just be like ETing and healing off of all of our sickness, but the government's hoarding the aliens. And so I guess there's certain topics where I guess it would make sense why they're not all that honest with us, especially if they don't fucking know. But then I was reading this Zero Hedge article and I also realized alien shit's a great government scam. Because firstly, you got the opportunity for them to pretend like, hey, there's the other thing that you guys have to be so afraid of, and that's why we need to be in charge and we need more of your money and you need to stay in your homes because we're going to protect you from these aliens. You've got that storyline. But then you've also got perhaps the aliens don't exist, and then that's got to be the cushiest government job of all. Of, hey, I'm in the secret alien unit, and we spend all day tracking these things. And then they're just in there jerking each other off, watching all the porn, playing the Xbox. I mean, other branches of government, sure, they don't do all that much. They stand behind KFC doors. They take your money, cash only. There's a lot of cushy government jobs out there. But you want to talk about a cushy government job, it's the Alien Research Department for things that may or may not exist. Talk about something that will never have any accountability in any capacity because we can't tell you if this does or doesn't exist. That's a pretty fun government job right there. All right, let's take some comments. Let's see what's going on. And by the way, I'm doing a show in East Rutherford, New Jersey tonight. So if you're out in the area, come hang out. All right, let's take some comments. Robbie, take calls. I will in the future. We're gonna start doing the leftover call-in show, and then maybe once we figure out how to take calls, maybe where I typically take the live comments, we can start taking some calls. New Jersey sucks on retro fees. I don't know what that means, but I'm willing to believe that government sucks on fees that they charge you. A fix. Enjoy the small crowd while it lasts, LOL. Criminally underviewed content right here. Speaking of, why can't we super chat here, Robbie? I thought you were Jewish. Let us send you money. A fix. I would love to take your money, but I have not monetized on YouTube in any capacity because I feel like once I do, that will be the death of the channel. But, we're going to figure out some new ways in the future for you guys who would like to support the show to support the show. A fix. I'm a live producer for a dude with 170K subs for multiple years, LOL. I brought him to the Philly show. Mike Heiss was the only dude who noticed him, haha. Happy to give production tips. Shoot me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Runaway Slav. Robbie's no longer a lesbian driving a Mazda, now just a white single mom. I think you wrote that wrong. I think you meant a lesbian driving a Subaru, and now I'm a white single mom, which I'm okay with. Spike. Yes, the deep state government is so evil that they would be willing to ruin our own. I don't know. There's a little too much going on there. All right, we'll take one more, and then we're moving on. The only alien ET out here is ME, a.k.a. extra testicle. How many testicles you got, Zigzag? All right, let's get into it. First of the show is we've got Joe Biden willing to sit down with Hitler himself, willing to sit down with the man who will be ending all of democracy as we know it. And so here he is in the Oval Office, willing to shake hands. And here, we can play it for a second, and then I'll give some commentary, and you guys can let me know if we have sound.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President, thank you. Donald, congratulations. Thank you. And looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So good. Welcome back.
So Joe Biden sitting down, being gracious, saying, hey, we'll give you everything you need. We understand that you won, and let's have a smooth transition. Let's so firstly, I like this about Donald Trump, that I think behind closed doors, he's such a nasty son of a bitch that he's willing to move on from you being a nasty son of a bitch. He doesn't care. He's like, hey, it's all for sport. I understand what we were doing here. You want to be nice to me, I'll be nice to you. He won here. He's willing to be a gracious winner. He doesn't need to punish other people. He'll shake your hand, let you kiss the ring, and be like, all right, it's all good. I get it. We were playing a game. You tried to investigate and kill me, and you weren't able to do it. And I'm still here, and I'm taking your job, and we can move on and be friends. So, respect to Donald Trump on that one. We did only get to see 2 minutes of what was supposedly a 2-hour meeting, and I'm just guessing that right after they shook hands and the cameras turned off, Donald Trump just turned to him and goes, you can go back to sleep now. You need me to read you? You want a lullaby? I'll sing you a song. What storybook does he like to read before he goes back to sleep? I'm willing to read it. I'm a nice guy. I'm here. You got the fire going. I'll even tuck him in. Joe, you got a blanket? You want me to give you a blanket? I'll put a blanket on you. All right. What else we got? RFK Jr. scorns Trump's fast food habit, really like bad and poison, which it is funny to have this guy who's young and spry for an old man, couldn't have a less healthy diet, and then him hiring the person who is going to, put us all on steroids, have us look like Iggy Pop and, live better lives. But firstly, I like that press conference of, basically RFK Jr. up there go, I don't even know how he's still alive. I don't know how anybody eats like this. And then here's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting that RFK Jr. finally gets fired when Donald Trump goes to eat a French fry and it just doesn't have its crispiness. And what the fuck did you do to my French fries? These used to be crispy and delicious. My Diet Coke doesn't taste good anymore. I'm getting rid of that RFK Jr. He made the mayonnaise no longer good. I can't have it. I need what I like to eat, and that guy ruined it. We've all had that, where they make some chemical illegal and the delicious food is no longer delicious. And I'm calling it now. RFK Jr. will have a job until Donald Trump eats one of his staple foods and goes, give me back the trans fats. Here's another headline for all of you guys getting really excited that Donald Trump's going to come in with this team. He's going to actually drain the deep state, the swamp now, get rid of the deep state, use his power and start going after people. You got RFK Jr. is going to actually get all the chemicals out of the stuff. People are going to be less gay. We're going to be more healthy. No more tits and diarrhea. For everyone getting excited that these people are going to actually step in and make some changes, you've got Rand Paul saying he's going to target the COVID cover-up, head of Senate, Homeland Security. And this is the game the government plays, is that they finally admit to fault when once Fauci's dead and everyone's returned to their lives and nobody's angry about it and it doesn't matter anymore. And then they just give you enough of the information to go, oh, yeah, no, our systems are perfect. And if we do something wrong, we're the first to admit it and try and correct it. That's always the way they try and do it. It's always like 20 years afterwards, you'll start hearing about what actually went on at Gitmo, but not while it's happening. And for Rand Paul, God bless. I hope you actually hold Fauci accountable before he's dead, but I'll believe it when I see it. And now here's the one positive news story for the week. And then we'll take a look at some of the absolute media freak out. I was calling it wrong. I think they're going to yell themselves into irrelevancy that I said, hey, I think we got to be at the end of the run for media, that nobody cares anymore. You've lost all your credibility. How much time are you going to stand around and just tell us how upset you are? But they have nothing else that they can do, and we'll do a run through of these clips. But this was reported by CNN. Zelensky says Ukraine war will end faster under Trump presidency. And for a guy who said, we have to fight Russia, this is everyone's battle unless we defeat Russia, has a lot of people in his country dead over fighting this war with Russia, suddenly he's pro-negotiating. This almost sounds to me where he's like, oh, great, now we don't have to fight this war on America's behalf anymore. Finally, we can end this thing diplomatically. I don't know that he's actually going to come out and say, hey, we never wanted to do this thing. And Donald Trump finally said, hey, I can still have my paycheck and you don't have to kill innocent civilians in your country anymore. But that's essentially the way this reads to me. Zelensky says Ukraine war will end faster under Trump presidency. Here, let's actually read it. He said the war will end faster with the policy of this team and will now lead the White House, referring to the incoming Trump administration. This is their approach, their promise to their society, and it's also very important to them, he added. Zelensky stressed that on Ukraine's part, we must do everything to ensure that the war ends next year through diplomatic means. Isn't that kind of incredible? Coming from the guy, hey, we need your money. If we're not holding Putin back, you guys are up next. We're doing the part of the world, and it's so important for Ukrainian sovereignty. That's not the way that word's pronounced, but you know what I was trying to say. We all need a fight, and we need more of your funds. And then I guess Donald Trump cut him a deal and said, listen, what's your take-home check in this war? All right, we'll make sure that you get that, and we're going to call it a quits. And even Zelensky's getting on board with, yeah, the new administration said that we can just have a conversation instead of killing each other. Wow, it's a better policy. The last people made me send all of my country to war so that they could die for absolutely no reason, and we could spend a lot of American money so that a lot of our people could die. But the new team, they realized we could just talk it out. And I think the new team's going to be even better for us. Next up, let's take a look at some of the media panic and this new environment of what we can look forward to the media, which is essentially them just telling us, I don't even know what to say. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Who can buy all this nonsense? But before we do, let's plug another sponsor of the show, CellshotNutrition. I absolutely love this stuff. It's from Steven, our Wonder Boy non-scientist. He's got a whole bunch of products. This is the only one that I have tried, which is the Long Shot Energy Endurance, 120 milligrams of caffeine, nitric oxide boosters, amino acids. All I can tell you is that this is more convenient than trying to track down coffee when I'm on the road. I keep this in my back pocket. They're kind of like the 5-Hour Energies, but it's Steven's energy formulation. So you got extra stuff in here. You've got the mucopurines extract, the L-theanine, Irish sea moss. That sounds good. I don't know what the hell's in it, but I can just tell you, in the evenings, instead of picking up a Red Bull now, I keep a bunch of these in the back pocket, or I keep them in the car, I keep them in the backpack, and I love them. Very convenient, very tasty. And if you're like me and you drink way too much caffeine all of the time and you prefer not to drink coffee in the evenings because you like just making diarrhea at home, let me recommend Long Shot for energy and endurance. All right, now let's take a look at some of the media freak out, and why not start with Jake Tapper, very upset. Firstly, he was very upset about RFK. I mean, he was very upset about Matt Gaetz. He didn't even have the words. He didn't even have the words to say. He was very upset about Matt Gaetz. And now here you also have him very upset about RFK Jr. Let's give this a watch.
To steer clear of politics, but this really isn't about politics, because this is somebody who has been, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing quackery, who has been pushing lies, who has been pushing conspiracy theories. You've been talking to experts in the health community, the medical community, preparing for him, RFK Jr., to be given some sort of role in health. What have they said to you?
Well, you know, it's not often that the entire medical and public health community is going to be in lockstep on something, but they're pretty close on this in terms of their significant concerns.
Lockstep? I don't know. Kind of like COVID? I mean, what credibility do you people have after rolling this doctor out as the COVID doctor that we were listening to for 3 years, telling us that we all have to stay home, not kill grandma, take the booster shots. If you already had COVID, it's still important. Why not get one shot, Joe Rogan? Sure, you're healthy, you already had COVID, you have the natural immunity, but, you know, I'm the doctor and we're still recommending one shot. What's your fear against one shot? What are you, some kind of chicken? You don't like a needle in your arm? But here they are. They just so upset. And with what credibility do you guys stand on that you've got your COVID doctor out here as, oh, well, we're CNN, we're the news network, and here's the doctor that we've appointed to tell you what the regime wants you to know. And so the guy who was more right on the COVID thing, probably the biggest, medical story of the last decade or so. I don't know. I can't remember any time any other medical thing was in the news or as relevant to our lives for as long as COVID was. And so here's the CNN team that got every aspect of that wrong, letting you know, how dare they appoint this other person who was right on that topic.
Horror even. Somebody said to me today, I can't think of any single individual who'd be more damaging to public health than RFK. Keep in mind, I think if the reporting's correct and the job is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, that comprises the CDC. We just got through this pandemic. Comprises the FDA, comprises the NIH. He's talked about wanting to basically strip funding for infectious diseases overall. Again, just coming out of this pandemic with concerns about other viruses and things out there. The challenge.
I love it. You guys, with what credibility? And on that note, here's Jen Psaki talking about the new media environment. And you have to understand what these people are complaining about is competition. It's such a government storyline. If you can have government protection so that you don't have to compete with other individuals, that's easier. And the way that you do it is by always saying, hey, if people can come into this and compete, it will be dangerous. And that's what everyone's claim is. Take any industry. You name it, the claim is, well, we can't have other people coming in here and competing because that would be dangerous. It's only the safety and protocols that we can bring to people with the way that we do the job. And so that's why government needs to make sure that nobody can compete with us and step in and possibly do a better job and win over customers and provide value and then showcase the fact that they're actually better than us at the thing that we're claiming that we're good at, because that would be dangerous. If other people were possibly able to provide these goods and services in a free environment and we couldn't continue to do what we're doing because we actually can't compete with them because they're better at it. This is always the claim. In every industry, if you can have government protection come in and say that every one of your competitors is dangerous and that's why they can't exist, and so then you can continue to do your thing without having to compete. And that's essentially what Jem Psaki is saying here. Let's give it a listen.
One of the things that's changed even since I got involved in politics is just the rise of the percentage of people who get their information off of platforms that have no fact-checking mechanism and no accountability for having disinformation spread, right?
What accountability was there for Russia or COVID or any of the topics that you guys have gotten wrong for years on end? If the issue is that there needs to be some sort of a mechanism where people are held accountable for getting things wrong, how do these organizations still exist? I mean, if anything, they should be in the biggest piles of debt for defrauding the American public of honest information. But here she is. People like me can't exist doing this because what mechanism exists for fact-checking me? All right, well, what's our track records?
One of the things that's changed even since I got involved in politics is just the rise of the percentage of people who get their information off of platforms that have no fact-checking mechanism and no accountability for having disinformation spread, right? And as you know well, and I mean, when I got started in Democratic politics, you know, most of it was like local TV ads. That was what it was about. Obviously, national TV, local print. Those local TV is held to a higher standard of accountability than social media platforms in terms of having accurate information on their platforms. That is crazy. And so it is, how does it change?
The only way that I can continue to have my job is if the only talking points available to you are the regime propaganda talking points, because if I'm actually forced to compete with other people providing actual news analysis, well then clearly who would be interested in my pre-approved horseshit? All right, here is an interesting comment coming from Mega Man. He is angry about losing Infowars because he's losing the archives of the show, supposedly. Now, that's interesting. I would think, though, that, like, in the environment we live in, if I was Alex Jones, then what I would have done is I would have just made the entire archive, just public domain, so that, you know, no one can then claim ownership of it. But I guess if someone else then I don't really know how that works, but that seems to me like what are they going to do? They're going to take this entire archive of content like an old record company and say that they, like when you have a movie deal and your movie deal falls through, but then the studio owns you and you can't actually go do any work. So that's what I was saying, is that it's interesting if they actually owned Alex Jones and so then he's not allowed to go and work. But even the archive seems to me like he probably could have circumvented that and just, you know, or maybe if you're going through bankruptcy, you're not allowed to just, you know, divest assets or even just relinquish assets. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about it, but that's interesting. I know Alex Jones tried to archive some of it, but a lot of it hasn't been saved. Also, you know, to some extent, I don't actually know how valuable archives for past news and information is. Like, you know, I mean, Run Your Mouth has had a lot of funny moments over the years, and we've definitely talked about things that weren't just pure politics, and there are even political conversations, for example, around things like healthcare, which be as relevant today as they were maybe 4 years ago when I was yelling about it, but no one watches the archive. And I'm going to guess for Alex Jones that there aren't too many fans out there that are going through a trove of old episodes. My guess is the extent of which the episodes that you go through are probably clips that just exist on the internet. And also in the way that old clips exist, for example, I have watched a lot of old O&A. Every once in a while, you go down that wormhole and you just start listening to all the hours of Patrice. I mean, the gold mine of the O&A archives, if you've never taken that trip, it's worthwhile. It's better than any of what any of us are doing is those old O&A archives. Particularly, I would vouch for all of the Patrice O'Neill appearances. But that's just online. I don't think Opie and Anthony or Sirius XM were actually making any money off of that. And on that note, if anyone has connections to Alex Jones, which I do believe I know people that work over there, if he's concerned about his archive, I happen to know about a guy who's very good at archiving stuff. Our good friend Andrew, who has built the Alex Jones Theater, I believe, might actually be able to help out Alex Jones on that. A Fix, it's the offhanded predictions and explanations of complex stuff that has real archival value. Hey, maybe we'll get in touch with Alex Jones, because I might have exactly the guy who can help him with his own archive, if that's actually an issue. All right, next one. Here we go.
Someone feels uncomfortable.
Oh, all right. So this was a topic from last week. I actually just didn't cover it, but there was conversations that apparently they were busted. They even found the form, and then they threw this lady under the bus. And let me actually tell you guys what happened. So FEMA, I guess they're supposed to go around in these disaster areas and let you know what they're able to do to help you out. And they were just not stopping at Trump houses. Apparently, they were in certain areas instructed that Trump houses are unsafe. And so if they see a Trump sign, they're not supposed to go there, which is pretty terrible. I mean, if you're the government and you're tasked with helping certain individuals, not helping individuals based off of their interest in Donald Trump and the other political candidate, I mean, I guess that plays into we've played the clip before from The Godfather that if you're going to lie, you got to live the truth of your lie. And so if you're going to say that the other guy's an evil dictator that's going to undermine our democracy, then I guess his supporters are also anti-democracy extremists. And so, those are dangerous homes and you can't even visit them in their time of need with the exact resources. You're on the television going, how dare you say that FEMA isn't here to help you? Do you guys remember that? When Obama was going, when did it become acceptable to say that organizations that were tasked with helping you, and now his claim was that people weren't going to go and get the help that they were supposed to get, and then apparently that exact organization was skipping over Trump supporters' homes on account of the fact that they were Trump supporters. And now this is great because sometimes you mess up when you fire people and you realize that the people are so stupid that they shouldn't be on the news. And you're like, quickly, can we get this person back in a job so that they're not on television? Like, you try and throw the person under the bus and go, no, that wasn't a company policy. It was just that one person. And then that person hits the news circuit and actually is, they're not being vindictive. They're actually explaining the policy. And you know what the policy is? It's, well, the Trump supporters make us uncomfortable. And you know what being uncomfortable is? It's called having a job. When that's called being paid to do something. That is the nature of a job, is that there's something that you have to do that you'd rather not do because it's uncomfortable. And so somebody pays you to do it. And that's called having a job. Can you imagine? You don't do any work at your job and then you just come back and you go, well, that made me uncomfortable. And the entitlement of people that we live in a world where it's a valid excuse to go, well, because everything can make you uncomfortable. That's an excuse to not do anything. And it's a great excuse. It's very feminine. Well, it was uncomfortable. Are you saying that I'm supposed to be uncomfortable? Well, is it mental illness that you're uncomfortable? Oh, that's invalidating my feelings. Here we go. We've got this lady talking on behalf of FEMA and explaining the policy to not stop at Trump homes that had a Trump sign in front of it.
We can't go to that home. If you have loose dogs and someone on the team is comfortable with dogs and another person is not, we can't go to that home because of safety precautions.
So you feared the Trump...
Which, by the way, even that's a little... Okay, I understand that. You're not comfortable around dogs, so you're not going to go to... But that's not an objective safety standard. Like a loose pit bull... Even the person who's comfortable around dogs, you might say, hey, listen, if there's a loose pit bull, we're recommending you don't go into the home. And someone could go, I'm actually really good with dogs. And then you could go, yeah, but we don't want the liability of you going near a loose pit bull. Whereas if there's a dog that's not threatening or not, like, in other words, you guys kind of get what I'm saying. That's not a real standard of my personal comfortability. It's either the situation is dangerous and then nobody should do it because you don't want to take on the liability, or it's actually safe. And even if you're uncomfortable, maybe you should have to do it, or at least report back and say, hey, someone's got to go visit this home, but I'm uncomfortable because there's a dog there and I don't like dogs. And then that's up to your manager to basically decide, well, hey, man, that's the job. And if you don't feel comfortable going to homes, or it's not safe and nobody can do it. You guys kind of get what I'm saying? All right, let's replay it.
And feels uncomfortable. we can't go to that home. If you have loose dogs and someone on the team is comfortable with dogs and another person is not, we can't go to that home because of safety precautions.
So you feared the Trump houses. The people on FEMA were fearing the Trump houses like they were fearing people with vicious dogs in their back.
Good question. Let's see how she handles it.
Exactly. And that's based on the trends. You can ask FEMA.
Oh, I don't know if that's all the clip is, but there you go. Yes, exactly. We feared Trump supporters, same as loose dogs. And so therefore it made sense for our own safety not to go visit their homes. Once again, everything, it's not safe. We're scared. And all right, I think I've got 2 more news clips. Here is Van Jones. And here's another thing that they always like to do. And I see this all the times with contracts. Someone will put something into a contract and you go, hey, can we proceed without this? And they go, well, I would never execute that clause. And then you go, cool. So then can we take it out? Well, no, it's standard and it has to be there. But you said that you were never going to execute it and I'm not comfortable with it. Well, it has to be there. Well, then it does sound like that's important to you. So why don't we actually have a conversation about it? No. We can't have a conversation about that one because I don't even care about it, but it has to stay. And so I've noticed that a lot of times the things that they don't want to discuss and they don't want to have a conversation about, all of a sudden, oh, let's not play politics on that one. Let's put that on the shelf of things that we're not even supposed to have a conversation about, and let's just do it the way that I prefer. And then there's other topics that we can engage in this thing called politics. But this thing, this is above the political conversation. And sure, it's above the political conversation as long as it's the exact perspective as what I have. Let's give it a listen.
He kind of was going out publicly, contradicting Howard Lutnick and saying, Trump has told me I can get essentially whatever I would like in this administration.
I don't know what you want me to say. I am just at a loss because we're watching something happen in slow motion.
By the way, I told you, we're in the new era of the news of the I can't even cycle. I don't even know what to say. I'm just beside myself that anybody could have this perspective and that we're so irrelevant for having lied for so many years that everybody is just not listening to us anymore. And I don't even know what to say about that. I'm over here with the right and perfect information that none of the voters or people are interested in. And the fact that nobody's just listening to me with no credibility, I don't even know what to say about this.
That is terrifying. You know, the reason we have a great country is because there are pillars in place. There are columns and structures, just like in your house, columns and pillars that you don't see, but they keep things in a good place. They keep things in a good direction. We have healthy children because there are people who've made sure that there are things in place for that. And right now
there's certain things that we just shouldn't discuss and we shouldn't look at, and just trust us on them. There's some pillars in place in your house, and you don't even look at it. Don't even look at it. Don't have questions. I mean, sure, if it seems like the thing is about to topple over, and it feels like maybe you should address it because kids aren't all that healthy, just listen to me, and that you don't want to. Let's not discuss that pillar. There's other things in the home that we could discuss, but this one that's obviously a problem, let's not even have that conversation.
we're seeing termites unleashed on everything. And this is a termite appointment. We know for sure that Bobby Kennedy is a vaccine denier. He's a vaccine denier. He denies being a denier, but he is a denier. And he is going to do great harm. And when you drive down trusted institutions, democracy only works in a high trust environment. When you make everything political, when you make everything...
You got to explain that one to me. It only works in a high trust environment. Well, if what government's doing is bad, why should we just trust it? I mean, is it possible? I like, simple example, Iraq war. Should we all have just trusted government? During COVID, should we all have just trusted government? When, you guys were telling me that Donald Trump was a Russian asset, should I have just trusted you? What does that mean? Democracy only works in a high trust environment. Shouldn't the voters want to hold the government accountable? I mean, look at all the money that they're spending. We're supposed to just trust them? When Joe Biden told us we needed to be in this Ukraine war and funding it, should we just trust him?
Negative. When you cast doubts and aspersions, eventually people have to rely on strong men. And so we're in a process right now that's just heartbreaking. And, it turns out that Donald Trump wasn't telling the truth when he said he wasn't for Project 2025. And that guy on your show wasn't telling the truth when he said that Bobby wouldn't get HHS.
There you go. They just can't even. They don't even know what to say or do anymore. All right. And I'm not that interested in that clip. Let's roll one more clip and then we'll call it an episode. If you guys are out in New Jersey, I will be there tonight in East Rutherford with Lou Perez, Dan Natterman. Who else was on the lineup? I don't remember, but it was a funny lineup. I like the spot a lot. It's where we did New Year's last year. I've done a bunch of gigs over there. Adam puts on a great show, and so if you're out in Jersey, come out for that guy. I'll link it into the episode description. All right, here we go. Last clip of the day, and that's our episode.
Loyal, not just loyal, people who display fealty. MAGA warriors. That seems to be the constant theme. They are MAGA warriors. They are in your face. These are not uniting people. These are not uniting picks. These are in your face to the medical community, to the intelligence community, to the military community.
That's what he wants. Yep.
That's what he wants.
Yes.
Well, that's because, like I said at the top of the show, last time he tried playing ball, and it didn't do him any good anyways. All right, that is our episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. We will be back next week, Wednesday, with a new episode, and then probably another one over the weekend as well. And let's take a couple of comments, and then that will be our show. Affix, his first name means from, so his entire existence is a prepositional phrase and thus can be excluded from sentences. I don't know why I had to read that. Runaway Slav, there is no high-trust society where there are blacks. I'm going to slip that one. Affix, fun fact, the only country with the highest learning of Swedish on Duolingo is Sweden. I'm sure immigration had nothing to do with it. And then last one, Tucker Dixon, MAGA Warriors, kinda rips. All right, that is our show. Thank you for hanging out with us. Back next week with an entire new episode. Thank you to our sponsors, YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo, and CellshotNutrition. He's got a bunch of stuff over there, but if you're pounding the energy drink,